Have you ever noticed something strange about history? No matter how tall the tower, how vast the borders, or how powerful the armies, every empire eventually collapses. It's a pattern as old as time itself. Today, we're embarking on a 10-minute journey to understand why greatness always has an expiration date. From the sun-drenched forums of Rome to the wind-swept plains of the Mongols, the story is always the same. Greatness rises, it peaks, and then it crumbles. But why? Why is collapse so inevitable? Is it a law of physics or a failure of human systems? Let's peel back the layers of time. I'm Ian, and I've spent my life studying the mechanics of power. To understand the future, we must look at the blueprints of the past. Today, we're going to look at history not as a series of random events, but as a system. A system that, for all its strength, has a built-in breaking point. We'll look at the greatest empires to ever exist to find the patterns they all shared. First, let's define our subject. An empire isn't just a large country. It's a state that extends its power over different nations, cultures, and geographies. It's an organism of immense complexity, maintained through sophisticated systems of tax, trade, and law. And as we'll discover, that very complexity is often what leads to its downfall. It's a delicate balance of power. To understand the fall, we must first understand the rise. Every empire begins with a spark, a shared vision, a strong leader, and a foundation of unity that makes the impossible seem achievable. This is the springtime of an empire, where every block is laid with purpose and the people believe in the tower they are building together. Imagine an empire like this giant tower. At the beginning, every block is perfectly in its place. The people cooperate, the leaders are focused, and the foundation is rock solid. This is the era of growth, the building phase. But as the tower grows taller, the view from the top changes, and so does the pressure on the blocks below. Take the Romans. They started as a small city-state, but through discipline and engineering, they built a network that connected millions. For centuries, Rome was the gold standard of stability. If you were a citizen of Rome, you were part of the most advanced tower ever built. It provided security, law, and a sense of belonging that lasted for generations. During the Pax Romana, trade flourished from Britain to the Euphrates. The system worked because it provided security and prosperity. People wanted to be part of the tower because the tower was strong. This was the peak, a time of unparalleled achievement. But peaks are, by their very nature, temporary. The weight of the tower was beginning to increase. But here's the thing about towers. The higher you build, the more pressure you put on the blocks at the bottom. As an empire reaches its peak, its greatest strength, its size, becomes its greatest liability. The logistics required to keep the tower standing become a burden that starts to drain the foundation. The cost of maintenance starts to exceed the benefits of growth. The Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan was a marvel of organization. It controlled the largest contiguous landmass in history. But think about the logistics. How do you govern a territory that takes months to cross on horseback? How do you maintain a single identity when your subjects speak hundreds of different languages and worship different gods? The strain was immense. This is called overextension. When an empire's borders stretch too far, the center can no longer hold. Communication slows down. A message from the capital takes weeks to reach the frontier. Taxes take longer to collect, and the military becomes spread too thin to defend every corner. The tower is still standing, but it's beginning to lean dangerously. But not every empire falls due to borders. Some fall because they exhaust their own environment. The Mayans built sophisticated city-states in the jungle, but their success led to deforestation and soil exhaustion. They built their tower so high that they literally ran out of the ground to stand on. Climate change and resource scarcity can be the ultimate internal decay. Corruption is usually the first sign. Leaders stop focusing on the common good and start focusing on their own wealth and power. The bureaucracy becomes a maze of red tape, designed to protect the elite rather than serve the people. When the people stop believing in the tower, they stop supporting it. And a tower without support is just a pile of bricks waiting to fall. Then comes division. The unity that built the foundation disappears. Political factions begin to fight, and the empire starts to divide itself into us and them. This internal friction generates heat that weakens the very structure of the empire. As the internal strife grows, the external strength fades. A divided empire is an invitation for disaster. The Ottoman Empire is a fascinating case of long-term decline. Known as the sick man of Europe in its later years, it struggled to modernize its systems. Its internal bureaucracy became stagnant, and its vast territories began to break away one by one. It wasn't one single event, but a slow, painful crumbling of the blocks over centuries of missed opportunities. Even modern superpowers aren't immune. The British Empire ruled nearly a quarter of the planet, but after the exhaustion of 2 world wars, the economic and political cost of maintaining such a massive global footprint became too much. The tower was simply too heavy for the base to support. The sun finally began to set on the empire that once claimed it never would. Economic problems are often the final straw. Inflation rises, the currency loses its value, and the cost of maintaining a global military becomes unsustainable. An empire that can no longer pay for its own existence is an empire that is ready to fall. Debt is the gravity that eventually pulls the tower down, no matter how strong it looks from the outside. Eventually, every empire reaches a breaking point. It's fragile, divided, and broke. And that is when the outside threats, the barbarians at the gate, finally make their move. But they aren't the cause of the fall. They are just the final push against a tower that was already ready to topple. The fall is an inside job that the outside world merely completes. And the system that once seemed unstoppable begins to fall apart. The tower doesn't just fall, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. And what was once a grand empire becomes a collection of independent stories, each trying to find its own way in the ruins of the old world. Out of the chaos, something new will eventually grow. This is the eternal cycle of history. It's a pattern as predictable as the seasons. Empires rise through unity and strength. They expand through power and ambition, but they fall when corruption, division, and instability grow too large. It has happened to every great power before us, and it will happen again. It's the rhythm of human history. The lesson of history is clear. No empire lasts forever. But understanding this cycle isn't just about looking at the past. It's about looking at the present. It's about recognizing the cracks in our own systems before they become chasms. History doesn't have to repeat itself if we are brave enough to learn from it and build something more resilient. From ancient Rome to the modern world, the forces of entropy never stop. Every system we build is a tower, and every tower requires constant maintenance and care. The real challenge of our time is to build a foundation that can withstand the weight of its own success and the complexity of the modern world. We are the builders now. The real question is not whether empires will fall. History shows they always do. The real question is, which empire will be next? And more importantly, what will we build in the ruins? The lesson of history is that greatness is a choice we make every single day. It's about the values we choose to uphold and the foundation we choose to build upon. Understanding how the system works is the first step to using it. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the history of our future. I'm Ian, and the question remains, which empire will be next?